Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for coming. My name is Frank Fortunato. I think we have a very interesting presentation. We promised to keep it to exactly 60 minutes. Before we start, I want to introduce and thank a few people. First of all, Trevor Madison from Accord. Where are you? In the back there. It's because of Trevor that we're able to display this little squiggy here. And this was, as many of you know, originally scheduled for their boardroom. But because of the overwhelming response, we not only had to rent this room, but a secondary room next door. I also want to thank Sean Murphy, who's the chief of Lloyds Canada, under whose auspices this whole thing has come about. I think it's a very forward-looking idea to try to better connect lineage with the Lloyds community, whether it be brokers or whether it be syndicates. And to be blunt about it, from our perspective and from the perspective of everybody, including lineage, the next big challenge and the big pot of gold here is on the other side, reaching out to the cover holders, trying to better automate that process and cut down on errors and improve efficiency. So with that, we have some very good speakers. We have Lucy Payette, who is one of the directors of Lloyds Canada, a French-speaking Montrealer, who I can promise you, in addition to her vast expertise as a mathematician and as a presenter, is also one of my scales of Mount Kilimanjaro, which was the subject of a great discussion last evening. We have David Belsham, Division Director at RFIB. He is here. He's going to talk about how the solution worked for them. And then Tom Bailey, who's the chairman of CADEX Europe. He's been a good friend of mine for about 20 years. We'll wrap up and we'll take any questions then. So with that, I will turn it over to Lucy and we'll go from here.
Good morning. Yes, Lucy Payette from Lloyds Canada. As you will notice, I have a strong French accent. I will talk about Lloyds Canada in general first. And then we're going to talk about the lineage system, for the one who don't know lineage. Then I'll talk about how we come about this additional pieces of work we've done on lineage to make everybody's life easier and to increase our straight-through processing. And then we'll talk about the project itself, what did we do, and what did we find out, what we did well, what did not went so well. Lloyds Canada. Who are we, Lloyds Canada? There's actually 8 of us in Lloyds Canada. There's 4 of us in Montreal, and there's 4 in Toronto. But we outsource most of the work to TELUS, which is a big telecom company. But they've been working on the Lloyds account for over 35 years. So there's probably around 35, 40 of them. Most of them are in the Montreal office, and there's 6 or 7 of them in Vancouver. So they do all the work. We're just the pretty faces. That's my story. So, how many cover holders do we have in Canada? As you could see, we have a fair bit of cover holders. And the big province, of course, is Ontario, then Vancouver, and then Quebec, the most important one. So this shows you a bit of the difference between the local market in Canada and the Lloyds market. So as you could see, in the Canadian market, they do a lot of automobile and they do a lot of personal property. But if you look at the Lloyds business, it's mainly liability and commercial property. If you look at auto, it's only 1% compared to 50%. And personal property is also fairly small compared to the local business. So this is the competitor rating. This is as of the end of 2013. The 2014 number are not out yet. We used to be number 1, and then Intact bought Axel, so he beat us. But if you look at the percentage of changes since 2012, it's fairly high for Lloyds. It has increased its business by 20%. So business is pretty good in Canada. So this is from a dollar standpoint. You've got the direct premium return and the net premium return. And as I've mentioned, you could see between 2012 and 2013, large increase. And as of mid-year last year, we were doing fairly well. The reason I've put this slide is I wanted to show you the importance of the binder business, which represents 55% of the business in Canada. So, and lineage is specific to binder business. So that's why it's also very important for the Canadian. So let me talk to you about lineage. If you do know lineage, you'll be bored for 5 minutes. If you don't know it, then you'll learn something. So binder business in the lineage, as you could see, the blue line is the lineage. So we have over 600 million of premium that transit through lineage. And we do the accounting and settlement for that amount of money. And the other binder business also has increased, but not as much as lineage, and that's what we want to do. So what is lineage? Lineage is a web-based system that is being used by both the cover holder and the third-party administrator. So depending if who's handling the claim, it could either be the cover holder who would do both, entering the policy and entering the claim information. But if the claim is given to a third-party administrator, then they're the one who's using a lineage. So they enter this information. There's two ways that the information can reach lineage. Either they use the web screen and they enter it manually, or we also provide an upload facility. Currently, there's about a third of the premium that are going through lineage through upload. So they actually don't have to type it. It's an extract that's being done from their broker management system. And the broker management system is used by the cover holder to produce the declaration pages. So we do the settlement. So you'll see a bit later, I have a big graph that actually explains how the settlement works in lineage. And out of the data that's being entered in lineage, we also take care of the regulatory reporting. So we need to report to the government in Canada all the automobile, Ontario liability, and lineage does also sanction monitoring. So any insured or payee or claimant that's entered in lineage, we validate that the name of that person is not on the terrorist list. Once the data is on lineage, then you have all the standard report and other type of report that are available for grab and for the syndicate to use. So there was a request. People wanted to have all the information that's being populated by the cover holder from lineage. So this information was available through different reports, but they wanted to automate the solution. So what we've done, we also realized that in the London market, you have software providers that do bordereau management system. So all of the data go into the system, so the syndicate or the Lloyds broker can see in one place all of their information regarding the policy. So this is a list of the binder system that I'm aware of. There might be other, but these are the ones that I know. And of course, having all the information, being it from Canada, from US, or from other countries into one system, it's advantageous for the syndicate and the Lloyds broker. So a year ago when we looked at it, there was over 20 managing agents and 5 Lloyds brokers that were using those type of systems. So currently, as I've mentioned, the data is available in lineage through either standard report. Standard report are reports that are created automatically by lineage on a monthly basis. So whenever somebody logs into the software, they'll see the list of all the reports that have been recently created. Or they could use what we call business intelligence, which is sort of a dashboard. They go in and then they could create their own report. They could select which binding authority contract they want to see. They could select the year of account. They could select the period. They could select the different field they want to see in the report. So it's really up to them, up to whoever's using the system to create the report they want to do. So, but these things take time. So people have to go log into lineage and do the extract. So we wanted to provide some kind of automation. And also, when they do create their own report, sometimes they don't create the same report from one time to the other, and then they end up with inconsistent data because they missed the field or they didn't select the proper period. So that's one other benefit of having something automated. And people would do the extract whenever they have time, so sometimes the report is available for 1 week, 2 weeks, but it gets to whoever really wants it a couple of weeks later because the person is sick, the person's on vacation. So again, the advantage of automation. So what did we do? We came up with a project, and that project was to create an XML download of all lineage data. Because that was another issue. We had those risk board rows, and at the time they were created, we picked out the field that we thought would be good. But then there's always that person who says, oh, can I have this extra field? And then you have to go and change your report. So now it's all there. It's all there. If it's in lineage, it's going to be in the XML download as well. So then it reduced data manipulation because you've got them all, and you could just map it to whoever system you have, whatever system you have, and you don't have to worry about missing field. Well, we don't have to worry. So we came up with a standardized format that it's going to be the same for everybody, with everything, every information. So we also created a web services with security attached to that. So if a particular company wanted to access the data, they could use our web services, and we will create them as one of the user in lineage, so then they will be able to access their own data only based on the lineage secured group. So once we have defined the project, we wanted to go ahead, and of course one of the things you want to make sure when you do those type of projects, you want to make sure that there is actually benefit, and that you talk to the people who could validate with you that what you're doing is correct. So this is what we did. We contacted stakeholders to make sure that there was an interest for this type of project. And we also contacted the third-party vendor, because we want to extract a bunch of data out of lineage, but there could have been multiple type of information. So we had 4 options. One was a pulse image after a transaction. Another one would be the latest image. You know, at the time you create the monthly report, you could say, well, what's the image of my policy at that time? We could have provided every transaction, the pluses and the minuses. Or what we did, we ended up creating a transaction-based board row with all the net premium. So we've contacted the stakeholder and the third-party vendor to agree on what option was the best, and that was the option that everyone agreed on. So that's what we did. So now we have that XML file that is now available. It includes all the policy and risk data capture in lineage. Anything you could dream of, if it's in lineage, it's in that extract. We've also covered all the line of business, which is automobile, commercial, and habitational. In our previous risk board, automobile wasn't included. So we provide that monthly batch in an XML format every month. And also, while we were doing the project, we realized that there was a need to have previous data. Because if you're going to start uploading data as a certain date, if your binder has been in existence for the previous 6 months, well, you also wanted to have those transactions for the previous 6 months. So we ended up creating a file for the last 24 months. So at any point of time when a new binder comes in, if a new stakeholder takes those files, we can create the past history monthly file for that binder. So we've also created web services interface. So, like I've mentioned, you will be able, the stakeholder will be able to register to Lineage to have access to the web services. And we've created a generic web services, and don't ask me what REST means. Sorry about that. That was some good technical people who took care of that part. So we also realized that at that point of of time that all our standard report could be into our catalog of report to be downloaded. So there was that new file we've created, the XML transaction download, but also all the other standard report were put in the report catalog and now are available for automated web services and transfer into the stakeholder system. So for example, we have a CSV claim workflow that also is available and could be downloaded directly into the stakeholder system. And whenever a report is available, we will send a trigger through the web services and says, oh, your report is available. And then the web services will wake up and say, okay, I'm going to go and grab it. And then it's populate the end user system directly. And there's absolutely no human being involved in the process. Not that we don't like human beings, but human beings don't like to work. So we try to make their life easy. So what were the benefits of this project? We facilitate the data quality by eliminating the data manipulation. End user don't have to go in Lineage and do the extract. The extract is done automatically. And all the data is standardized and there's more data available. As I've mentioned earlier, it's also mean that the data is actually available earlier because whenever it's available, then the web services is triggered. And our ultimate goal is also to make sure that we have as much data in Lineage as possible. So that's another benefit that Lineage brings to the stakeholder. So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes on this slide because I can just like set it all. So you have two boxes here. The top boxes is related to what I call data flow. So you've got your cover holder, and as I mentioned earlier, there's two ways for him to enter the data in Lineage, either through this broker management system, and there's currently 4 broker management systems in Canada that have developed the interface with Lineage. Policy Work, Insured View, Custom Software Solution, and Kiel. About, like I say, a third of the premium goes through those vendors, and there's also other larger syndicates, Markel, for example. They develop their own in-house upload. And there's also other bigger cover holders that have developed their own upload. So if they don't use the upload, then they have to go on Lineage and enter the data by hand through the web system. So when it gets into Lineage, as I've mentioned earlier, produce a bunch of reports on a monthly basis. So the first one, the XML policy transaction extract, is the new report or new file we've created. But all the other 19 that existed are now available on our report catalog and they can be downloaded. So we developed here, that's the web services part, and we've made we've tested this and it's in production with KTEX, which was one of the vendors that was interested to provide that services to its customer. So 2 of their customers have Lineage data. One is live, and David will talk about it a bit later, and the other one is in the process. So our objective also is to increase the number of vendors and or stakeholder in-house system to reduce data manipulation, timeliness of information. So that's the data flow part. The second part is the money flow. So the way it works is, once the data is in Lineage, we produce an invoice that goes to the cover holder. So in that invoice, you would have all the pluses, which would be the premium. We subtract the claim, if there's any claim payment that needs to be done by the cover holder. And we also subtract the cover holder commission. So then the cover holder would either send us a check, or if they gave us access to their bank, then we do the wire transfer. So Lineage, because it has all the information regarding the risks that have been entered, and it also manages the term of trade and everything, is able to send a file to exchanging and tell exchanging, well, for this particular binding utility contract, this is how much you need to pay. And exchanging does the money transfer to the syndicate. And within the Lloyds Canada office, we do the wire transfer and we pay the Lloyds broker directly. So if you're a Lloyds broker in Canada, you get your cover holder is using Lineage, every month you get an automated wire transfer to your bank account. So a picture said it all. And that's why I actually call this presentation straight-through processing. Because if you look at the cover holder, if he's using one of those systems, he enters the information once, and then it goes into the syndicate database directly, no manual intervention, or it goes into the Lloyds broker database also, no manual intervention. That's pretty neat, if you ask me. So, result and lesson learned. Well, as I've mentioned earlier, we did not anticipate it when we started the project. We didn't thought about creating that S35, but we did throughout the project. And also to come up with the content of the type of extract we wanted to do. It was a bit of it was hard. There was many people that were involved, and it was hard to get sometimes the feedback. The other issue we had is we started with another beta tester, and at one point of time he decided that he no longer had other priorities. So KTEX was nice enough to realize the benefit of this project, and they've worked with us to the benefit of their client. So we ended up not having so much time testing with the beta tester, but they all worked out fine at the end because we've done it. So what about the next step? So we want to provide an XML file for the claims. Today we only have the CSV, which is type of an Excel for claim bordereau. We'd like to have an XML claim with as much data as possible, every data. And we're also thinking of having those files created on a weekly basis. So you would have the policy on a weekly basis, you would have your claim on a weekly basis. And since the process is automated, it's not much more work for anybody. It just populates the syndicate or the Lloyds broker system automatically. So there's actually not an additional work required. So yes, and in the future, you know, once you're weekly, why not go daily? Why not go real time? Because the way we create the data, we actually create the data, and when we develop that XML extract, we did it thinking about the future, where that extract is actually created right away. So there's nothing that prevents us to send it real time to whomever system wants to accept it real time. So it's the future, the future. So the format we came up for that XML transaction would like it to become the Accord standard. So we're going to work with Accord to see if that's possible. And of course, we continue to promote the upload feature so that the cover holder doesn't have to enter the information twice. He can only enter it once into his broker management system. And KTEX is also working towards the same position, where they're thinking of offering some kind of solution for our cover holder also, so that it will be able to populate lineage directly. So without further ado, I will leave the room to my colleagues.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Thank you very much.
And RFID.
Thank you. We're now going to hear from David Belsham from RFID, who's going to quickly talk through the project that KTEX and RFID have worked on collectively, and specifically with the relevance to the lineage. So.
Absolutely. So, morning. Basically, we adopted KTEX initially for our US book of business, and it was all property-based as well. And at the time, we wanted to have a standardised suite of reports that we could get out, so we had automated reports from everything. Of course, property was only the first step. We then developed with KTEX and with the pivot point system to expand into liability and other classes and so on. So once we got to that point, the obvious next step was to include our Canadian book of business. And I know there's a lot of reports you can get out of lineage, there's straightforward reports and some more complex ones. But a standard suite of reports to go across the whole market of our facilities was what we were looking for. Graphs, etc., etc. So it made sense to go with the phase 1 of this, use CATX to actually develop Pivot Point to download the XML report. And it populates everything straightforwardly. So we're looking forward to getting the claims in, but at the moment it's for our benefit, it's filling it in with the risk border. Now, as far as our cover holders are concerned, when I visited some of our cover holders the other year, I did notice not everybody has an upload directly from their system into Lineage, and in some cases we found there were actually cover holders sitting there with a whole group of technicians literally rekeying information all the time, and they'd key it into their own mainframe system or their own management system, and from that they would report to us a risk level data bordereau. Then they go and fill it in on the Lineage system afterwards, which obviously causes a delay and it's double entry. So the idea will be for us to then be able to say, here we go, if you give us the risk level data and it captures every field that Lineage requires, we can populate it back up for you. Benefits all round are obviously it's going to save the cover holder on their staffing levels if need be, or their resource levels, they can re-manage them. And of course we as RFIB have a whole suite of reports, again, standardise everything that we can think of. And there is a very good function as well, going back to actually the upload, a very good function called collaboration in Pivot Point, whereby if the risk level data is coming to us in any format, XML or Excel into CATX, and there is an issue, there's a missing field, it will actually allow for cover holder to complete that on an extranet site as opposed to actually any enhancement by London, so we're not actually messing around with any data either.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Very quick, really short, I'm sorry.
That's great. I'm just going to take 1 minute to just give you a quick oversight as to what our platform does. So our bordereau management platform takes disparate formats from cover holders all around the world and draws them into the system. Rather than having to pre-map and put a lot of effort into that, the system learns and it accumulates from the experience, and then will automatically draw that data through. So it's a learning process rather than having to define it ahead of time, which makes it very quick and efficient. It essentially means that both London brokers and syndicates can get all their data coming from disparate sources into one central repository from which you can then report. We've been very lucky to work with RFIB, who put a lot of intellectual input as well as a lot of hard work on their side to get all their data coming through on an ongoing basis. Working with the Lineage team on Lloyds Canada has been very important, because clearly there was an opportunity for us to try and make the process more efficient. There was an opportunity for RFIB to essentially offer better value to their cover holder clients, and indeed on the syndicate side as well. And our objective would be, where cover holders are working quite happily with the automated process through Lineage, that's great. Where that's not the case, what we would like to see is bordereau coming straight through to RFIB, being loaded into the RFIB CATX system, and then back populating to Lineage, so fulfilling that requirement for those cover holders. And essentially at that point the data is in consistent, structured, pure format and is available to you as the market as a whole. And as Lucy specifically said, the objective then is to get closer and closer to real time. And we're doing a couple of projects with clients so that the point at which a cover holder binds the risk is the point at which that data is sent through to the system and is then therefore available to the market, and allowing things for real-time tracking of aggregates, a much clearer picture of exactly what's going on. And we have extranets that allow this data to be relayed directly back to the cover holders and all the other parties involved. There was quite a lot of demand for today's sessions. You know, it's always useful to hear firsthand from the teams who are working on these projects. We actually had to break the session up into two, but because of that we hope there might be a number of questions that you guys might have that collectively we can answer. So please do feel free to sing out if you've got any questions, observations, or any experiences if you've got where cover holders maybe struggle and things could be improved, or instances of success from cover holders. Hello.
David, really. Obviously, for not naming business, you need your bordereau.
Yeah.
There's no other way, practically, until cover holders are sufficiently advanced to provide XML from the start. For Canada, although you're talking about automating the population of Lineage from your bordereau system, you're still duplicating. Do you need to do that? Are you getting anything within the management system that you wouldn't get from lineage?
At the moment, we're not really using the lineage downloads enough to actually warrant it. So, I mean, the idea of being able to produce the reports of the risks, model the data, so, if we're looking at a Canadian property piece of business, what's farms, what's commercial property or something like that, and provide renewal for stats, if you like, is probably something well worthwhile for us, because at the moment we take the information at renewal and load up, or we may take the information on a statistical basis just from the age incurred to lineage, but there'd be a better suite we could provide, is what I'm thinking.
One advantage that I personally see is the people that are not using lineage, then if it's in one system, both the lineage and the non-lineage, they could see the full Canadian picture in one system, which lineage cannot provide because they're not using lineage. So that would be a benefit to have everything under one system.
If you have a cover holder that actually writes some business through lineage and some is non, then you can actually pull that all together, provide them with their extranet as well, so they can see their results as they go.
Of course, the ideal is that they would all use lineage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that driven by the quality of property data in lineage, or rather based on what you've traditionally done?
Basically, really what we've been doing with our US book, we're just trying to emulate that from Canadian as well. Conformity all across. And we have a couple of cover holders who are quite interested in using this phase 2 because they don't have their upload already. So it'd be good to get that moving. I'm thinking the benefit to our cover holders, not only are they going to have an extranet site where they can see their results, and speedy determinant. And one of the things actually I didn't mention, which happens a lot when you have people who are manually duplicating data into lineage, as well as their own mainframe system, it's a time delay, because they're going to get their report, their system updated, so they can get their invoices out to the policy holders. But then it might be another month by the time it's populated in lineage. So having that speedier turnaround, if we can get to real time, we'll be all singing and dancing really happy. But at least if we can do it on a monthly basis to start with, then it's a big boon for everybody, I think.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Not all of the Canadian cover holders upload their own stuff to lineage. Some of them outsource to home workers, for want of a better word. So where are we going to get to the time of real-time data with those people when they're not only working for one agent?
Very good question, actually.
I think if what those people are doing is literally fulfilling the lineage upload function, I think the proposition would be, if you are a cover holder doing that, if you can produce your written, your premium, and your claim border, be it coming from you or a TPA, a management system, and send that through, that population of lineage will become automatic from systems like the CADEX RFID system. So
you won't have to sit there.
So those people will be able to do other things. And it's bad news if your job is working at home, populating. But that's the way it is. It's an inefficiency in the market at the moment. It's adding additional cost, and the intention is to eradicate that. And so lineage will either be populated, we would expect going forward, directly from cover holder systems, or cover holder systems will produce their output through to people like RFIB, who will then directly and automatically populate lineage, and hopefully take away this sort of ludicrous double entry. Which
because that is the problem, you see. I mean, a lot of them, they only do it like weekly or whatever, and then that's where you've got this hiatus, where you're getting a hold up.
That's right, and and the delay can actually, but then go onto the payment side, and of course underwriters not getting paid until a later period or something, because it's not reported on time.
But that's a good question. Yeah. So that inefficiency should be eradicated by this project. Any other questions? No.
Do you regard this project as a standalone purely for Canada, or do you look to integrate with other initiatives that are on the market for real-time bordereaux?
Yeah, from our perspective as CATEX, we view drawing data in from Canada as just one of the sources of data. So RFIB have their entire delegated portfolio, of which some is Canadian, of which some is lineage, and that's how it's drawn in. But we will take data in from any sources we can. We are doing integrations directly with the major providers of cover systems, with the objective that if you're using one of those big platforms, that you click on bind and a XML data packet immediately goes straight through to our system, or to RFIB system, and therefore it takes away that monthly bordereau.
But there are other projects in the market that are doing the same now.
Absolutely,
Are
absolutely.
you looking to combine with them?
Wherever we can combine with a market project, we will do so. Most of what we do is driven by our clients. So we talk with our clients and we make sure that we're all collectively appraised of all the initiatives and that we are collectively working on the most pragmatic of those.
From a lineage perspective, we provide the information for all our stakeholders. So there could be as many vendors connecting with us, getting the information from us.
I know that there's an Accord project looking at standardised risk border.
Yes,
Are you looking to integrate to that? Or?
we are already involved in that. Yes.
And from our perspective and RFIB's perspective, the more standard the bordereau are, the less sort of data checking that there is required. Though we automate it, clearly if everybody's sending through exactly the same format, it's so much easier just to populate the system.
But of course, if we can take data into CATEX in any format and then output it in the standard Accord requirement, then that's a bonus as well.
Absolutely right. So any data that RFIB share with downstream is in by default Accord ER3001 or Lloyds Premium Bordereau Standard.
Of the groups we just talked about, there's the Project Tomorrow and the Barbie group, which is a market group around bordereaux. Can I ask why RFIB are not involved in the Barbie group and CATEX?
Well, we'd be delighted to be involved in that group. So maybe should we pick up after this and we can certainly share our experiences and see which direction you guys are going. Yeah.
Further questions, if you
Yeah.
don't mind. You talked about the system learning the format rather than needing to be mapped, and that's,
Absolutely.
that's new. Without getting too technical,
Yeah. So
how does it do that?
I think one of the great challenges of bordereau systems is that someone has to say to the system, or traditionally someone has to say to the system, here's what I'm receiving, this is what you, the system, need to do in order to bring it in. And one of the incredible things is that very good cover holders are sending different formats, from one month to another. Not intentionally, but the way it happens. So what we did is we said that this is a really inefficient way of working, and in working with our clients, we'd seen the challenges they had to overcome to do this mapping. So we redeveloped the entire process. So you put a file into the system, and the system straight away goes, right, this is what I believe I'm looking at, based on accumulated experience, both of a file as a whole, this cover holder, and this cover holder line of business and facility. And you can just confirm that with one click, and then you go to the next screen, which says, right, all these columns that I'm seeing here, this is what I believe they are based on accumulated experience. And that is, again, system-wide, cover holder, and then if you need to overwrite something, or if it doesn't know, you can tell it what it is, and you can say, learn this, or don't learn it, so there's a one-off. If you learn it, are you learning it system-wide? So, for example, if it's wood frame, or sorry, if the field is construct, and you want to say this is construction class, you can say, learn this. Next time we see construct, full stop, we know it's construction class. Or you can say this is an anomaly from this particular cover holder who believes that the limit should be expressed as total exposure. And you say, actually, this means limit, but don't learn it for anybody else, just this cover holder. Which means the next time you see it through, that it just flows through seamlessly. Equally, if people start moving columns across. But what's very interesting is that as you build up this experience, a new file goes in and the thing slips through seamlessly. The final stage is actually looking at individual cells and seeing are there anomalies there. And what's very interesting again is when people start looking at the detail of the bordereau, how many anomalies there are in that. And so you feed back to your cover holder. And David spoke about the collaborate function, which allows you to say to someone, can you come in here and fix this data cell? The system then stamps it with an audit log saying, this is who changed this data value and when. And as soon as you start doing that, then what we've seen is that data integrity tightens up on the cover holder side. And this stuff's being looked at now. So, yeah.
Okay. And when the data comes in, can it take a whole border at once?
Absolutely. Yeah. The idea is to take a whole bordereau, huge files, multiple worksheets. So, I guess anything that you see in the market, it is designed to be able to deal with. And we see quite a wide range of strange things that come through. But the intention is to get the data in, get it in a consistent, clean format, and then you can put it straight out to RMS, AAR, ER3001, Lloyds, premium standards, and so on. Yeah.
How user-friendly is the system? For example, getting the bordereaux, uploading it, data manipulation, changing in cells, mapping. Can that be done by a technician, or do you need specialised knowledge?
Yeah, it can be done by a technician. It does get done by a technician.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say we use it at Market Form as a syndicate, and our biggest challenge is the quality of data, not the process itself, because the process works pretty well. But capturing it straight from lineage will be an enormous help for us. But it's making sure that maybe the capture of that, I mean, you said I think 30% is through the broker systems at the moment, so there's still 70% where people are typing it in,
Yes.
where there's bound to be a number of errors.
Absolutely.
I think surely we've got to look for some sort of interface, because they may not want to change their actual system, but some sort of interface to be able to go from their system into your system will be surely the solution that we should be looking for here, with a data quality check at that front end.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, that's an interesting point. So at the Market Form, you're taking the data from Lineage and putting it into...
That's what we're working to do,
Which
yes.
is the reverse of what RFIB are doing.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask a further question, but I thought that's too many questions for me, but never mind. Which was, obviously Lineage does an awful lot of validation. You don't get empty fields, you don't get incorrect fields, it simply rejects at the point of entry. It's not about sending a bordereau back, it's not about picking up the phone. It's done at the point that the cover holder puts the information in. And to me, I'm seeing Lineage first, then feeding other systems, rather than the other way around.
We reflect
That's
those.
the way forward. But
That's fine, but to the extent that people want to produce an output, a written bordereau, a premium bordereau, and send it through to RFIB, for business that will then be populating back to Lineage, exactly the same validations will apply. The same drop-downs, same validations. If it isn't acceptable to Lineage, it won't be acceptable to the RFIB CADEX system.
And it's at a risk level, not at a bordereau level. Or
Yeah,
level.
of
So,
course.
Yeah.
So it would just query the risk
Yeah,
and change it actually in CATEX as well.
absolutely. Yeah.
They're just trying to fill out that 70% gap. Those people, they know there's an upload. Sometimes they have broker management, sometimes they don't, sometimes they have they do their deck pages through words. So those people currently, they have the possibility to do an upload in Lineage and they don't. So some of them will change throughout time, and we've seen the increase significantly from one year to another. We're up to about 50 cover holders that do upload. So we will continue to increase. But some of them will just not get there, but they do create board row, and they take those board row and they go to Lineage and retype it. So what KTEX is trying to do, it says, well, instead of going to Lineage, retype it, let's take those board row and see if we could put it in our system and feed it back to Lineage. So it's sort of an interim upload system that's trying to fill out that 70% gap. But of course, the best way to fill out that 70% gap is directly from the cover holder system to Lineage. No intermediary directly. But for the other that will never make it, well, that would be an alternative.
yes, because whenever we talk to Lloyds, the word bordereau is now a dirty word. It's all about data transfer at risk level. And Sarah's sitting behind me anyway, but yeah, we try very hard to
Tom
avoid
Bolt sitting behind you. Anyway.
we try very hard to
Yeah.
avoid the B word wherever
Yeah.
possible. When
And I think that's the objective, is to get the data coming through at risk level immediately as soon as it's bound. That is absolutely, I think, the vision. There will always be some cover holders who are producing good quality business who are putting together their bordereau, and clearly the framework is such that it will take that in always, as long as it's good business that Lloyds wants. But I think there are very willing cover holders out there, and we've all seen it, who are keen to sort of lead the way with innovation, and I think collectively we're all keen to work with those people who are prepared to make the investment in time and money.
So have RFIB found managing agents to work with on this? Or is it just effectively stuck with you guys at the moment?
At the moment it's with us. We haven't actually linked up with any managing agents yet, but
Because then that would just close the gap.
that's exactly that's the step afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as Lucy said here, this project is in sort of early stages. We've now moved past the drawing the Lineage data in. The next stage will be pushing Lineage data out. And once you've got it in that consistent format, the managing agents can sort of serve as they choose. If Market Form want to access the data in a certain format, certain way, they can do it. If Kaplan want to do it in a different way, they can do so. So, you know, it's then in a position where the managing agents can decide how they want to interact and how they want to draw the data through.
Is each risk listed, certainly for property, at location level.
Yes,
So you can break it down to every location on a contract
yes.
with the relevant taxes per location, per territory.
The taxes,
Do they vary in
there's two
provinces?
taxes, yes. There's two taxes, there's the sales tax and there's the premium tax. So the premium tax is actually calculated and paid by London. So they're the one who does all the calculation based on both lineage
Is this shown
data
on the premium?
and
the risk
exchanging
board,
data. Pardon me?
That's being shown on the risk board, right? So
Pardon me? I'm sorry.
It's not on the
shown on the risk
board, or it can easily be shown on the risk board.
Yeah, it can easily because you've got the province and you've got the
Taxes relevant.
premium, so it's easy to calculate. There's 10 provinces.
Any other questions?
Sorry, with
Yep.
regard to CapEx, what you mentioned that you built where it learns its from
Mhm.
it and things like that. It's actually quite easy to build, and we built it ourselves at Faraday. What extra things do you offer? Like, so we have any sort of border, it goes into our database. It's simple, well, not simple SQL, but it's using SQL and some other functions. We get to learn from the things that it's done. We get it fired into our modelling system straight away. Our biggest problem is the fact that there's a lack of integrity in the data in terms of sometimes we're getting mortgage values provided to us even through lineage, and it's not this. Do you have any other functionality which looks at the actual data and whether it's legitimate?
Yeah, we have various lookups, both internally and over web services.
Yeah.
What I would say at the heart of what we're doing is we're recompiling the book. So if you receive a bordereau through that has got policy level information with underlying location, that gets recreated. If a subsequent bordereau has amendments to some of those locations, those are reflected as at the right time and date. Premiums attached to those items, claims attached. So not only are we doing that learning to ease the flow of data in, we're recompiling the book and giving you a very clear picture across your entire portfolio. But to the extent we can, we're doing these rigorous lookups. We've got modules that check rates and look for rating comparison this year on last year and rating sufficiency, where you're dictating those rates to your cover holders. Looking, geocoding, all the sorts of things that you look to add to your data pack that you're getting. And to do that in as efficient and as seamless a way. So you've then got exactly the data you want and a high degree of confidence in that data, so you can use it downstream as part of your overall portfolio.
We've done quite a lot of testing, and we found that the vintage isn't actually the issue for us, how often we get the data in, because we roll forward our event losses from the models, we can roll forward AGs, and we found that the actual difference isn't that great. The biggest problem is we're getting provided incorrect data. So things like mortgage values provided, we're getting the wrong constructions and things like that.
Yeah, and so you can look at things like saying, well, I just wanted to look at, generic construction classes that are coming through. Has this particular file got what appears to be anomalies, both in construction classes and anomalies? So if it's a Florida coastal thing and everything's wood framed, I'm thinking, well, that's a little bit unusual, but you can immediately at the point of processing say, what percentage is, concrete frame versus wood frame, and spot those anomalies as they come in. I think what we see with our clients is that it's actually going through this process and looking at the data that makes you aware that those anomalies are there in the first place. Clearly you guys have gone down the road, so you are at that stage. The challenge then is how do you rectify that? It's partly it's interacting with your cover holder clients, but partly it's what processes and services can you incorporate to just purify or improve that data quality. But we have a lot of analytical tools that as you go through the process, it's trying to flag up likely anomalies based on accumulated experience.
So will you come and use our external transaction and build web services to get that data from lineage directly?
At the moment, we're just putting straight CSVs, and they're automatically fired into our system once we attach them to our system, and then fired through. But yeah, ideally XML transfer would be so go, yeah.
Yes, so give us a comment.
Yeah.
Great, well, thank you all very much for attending. We know your time is valuable. Quickly, Tombo, thank you for coming. Your time is very valuable. And any questions you've got for any of us, please feel free to talk to us now or to make contact with us subsequently. We'd be very interested in sort of understanding the challenges you're facing, how we can help, and just as Lucy and David are as well. So thank you very much.
I have-